Welcome to this week's episode of Talk Your Shit podcast. We're going to talk about the importance of diversity in tech. We're going to talk about the layoffs, as well as the challenges that come with being a Black recruiter in the corporate America. We love Miss Corporate America. So I am joined by Rochelle. How are you, Rochelle?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I am phenomenal. I'm so excited, y'all. There's going to be a lot of tea spilled, so I hope y'all are ready. So, Ms. Ma'am, tell us what you do.
So I am a diversity sourcing recruiter at Salesforce. So I specifically focus on underrepresented minority talent. So that's your African American, Latinx, Hispanic, and Indigenous population. But I specifically focus within the customer success group. So think like architects, some project managers, engagement delivery managers, things like that.
Ooh, and we love seeing a Black woman, okay, recruiting us. We need some help, okay, because people out here tripping, you know what I'm saying? So tell us about your background and what it was like for you growing up.
Yes. So growing up, as you can tell, I am biracial. And my parents were also military. So I spent most of my childhood overseas. Both my parents served in the Army. So the early part of my childhood, I was in Korea, and then I was in Germany as well before I moved back to the States, I think like fourth grade. So I had a very unique perspective, I would say, of the world, just because I grew up in a country that not a lot of people will get to live in their lifetime, you know. And it just really opened my eyes to a lot of things when I did come back to America, the differences and how Americans are a little arrogant, you know, a little ignorant.
A little bit. We a little conceited, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know that you grew up in Germany.
I did. That's hence why I have the minor in German when I did my undergrad.
Oh my God. I lived in Germany for 2 years and I studied German there, so I have a pretty good understanding of it. That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Such a small world.
Look, we can just complete the rest of the podcast in German. I'm just kidding. I don't do that. But so you are a diversity recruiter for Salesforce. How did you get here? What in your life made you say, hey, I want to be a recruiter, diversity sourcing recruiter, to help, you know, underrepresented people get tech jobs?
So to be completely honest, it kind of just fell in my lap initially when I interviewed for Salesforce. It was for a tech recruiter, which they said I didn't really have the experience for. Just a little bit about my background. I came from healthcare recruiting, so I did full cycle recruiting on the healthcare side, AMN healthcare. Let's just say the culture there is very different than where I'm at today. Just to be completely candid, very cutthroat. I would say not a lot of women over there, and especially not a lot of Black women. So coming to Salesforce was definitely eye-opening. After I went through the interview process, was kind of denied on the tech side. Then they did reach out to me, just kind of letting me know they had a diversity opening and just kind of letting me know about what that looked like working on the D&I side of things. And I really promised myself in my last role, as everyone's well aware of, like after George Floyd's death and kind of the Black Lives Matter movement, I felt like I really found my voice when it came to being vocal about what's right and wrong and just things like that. So I promised myself in my next role, I wanted something that really made an impact, not just going to work, doing day to day, 9 to 5, just really feeling like I'm not really accomplished anything that's worthwhile to me.
I think that's really cool. That's really good that you are in that position, because honestly, I feel like we do not have as many high positions as we should. Like it's nice the past few years seeing us, you know, take those positions, but at the same time, it's not enough of us, you know.
Of course.
And I see you out here doing your thing. Okay, let's talk about corporate America, because as you mentioned briefly, the tech layoffs. Layoffs have been massive. They continue to be massive, and people are literally holding on for dear life, hoping and praying that they are not laid off. So what did it for you seeing your peers, you know, get laid off? How did that affect you and the way that you did your job?
So for me as a recruiter, I don't like to waste anyone's time. So that's whenever I go start about the interviewing process with a candidate. That's something I'm very vocal about. And it was hard to see. There was someone on my team who started probably a little before me. She was part of the layoffs initially. So that was really hard because one minute she was there and then the next minute she was gone. And just really being uncertain of what was going on. I mean, still, every day, if you're familiar on LinkedIn, a lot of recruiters, that's our source of truth, day to day, we're in there. They have an updated list almost daily of the layoffs within tech companies, other companies, and it's just really hitting everyone hard. So, I always believe, yes, you have your corporate job, but also I'm very adamant about having a side hustle because you never know what can happen. I know a lot of people, even people that I've interviewed, they do contract work, things like that, especially in the tech world. So just always having things like that available and always be open to hearing about new opportunities. A lot of the talent that I do talk to is more so passive, but typically after our conversation, they're open to it. Just because sometimes they're not aware that there's opportunities out there for them, especially at Salesforce. So,
yeah, I love that you pointed out having a side hustle, having side hustles and multiple streams of income. Super important, and to not fully rely on jobs because layoffs, you never know what can happen. You never know, the company could just shut down, go bankrupt, and now you're out of a job. Okay, so having side hustles, having multiple sources of income is important for you so that you are not, when you lose that job, you're not like, oh crap, like what do I do? Now you're homeless, now you don't have a car. We don't need that. So it's important to have multiple streams. If you don't know how to have multiple streams, Google it. Okay, because there are so many different ways to make money. There are so many different ways. And yes, I love that you touched on that. And so with that, what kind of challenges have you also faced? Because I know, first of all, we might need to backtrack a little bit, because can we just talk about the skill set that it takes to be able to source diverse talent and good talent at that? What type of skills does it take?
So, first and foremost, anyone that I say wants to get into the D&I side of recruiting or just in general every day, it's not your typical day. Compared to my counterparts, I might hear more no's versus yeses when it comes to presenting candidates to different roles. You really have to have a thick skin and really advocate for candidates. Sometimes you might come across a candidate that has a pretty diverse background, but it doesn't necessarily align with what, like, the typical skill set, So really just going to bat for candidates, not only with other recruiters, but when it comes to hiring managers, things like that, because at the end of the day, that could be the difference between a yes or a no, just opening more doors. I think people really just have to approach things with an open mind.
That's good. Take notes. If y'all want to be a recruiter, take these notes, because anybody can be a recruiter, because it takes thick skin. It takes you sliding to people's DMs and them ghosting you, or you setting up meetings and waiting and the person never shows up. It is a lot. It takes a lot of brain work, a lot of mental, and I commend you for that, because that is not for me. That is not my calling.
Well, you just have to get used to hearing the word no sometimes. Like I said, you might get 10 no's in a day, but maybe that one yes, they're your next hire. So.
And honestly, that's with anything that you do, whether you are an entrepreneur, you have to get used to no's. If you're not getting no's, I don't think you're doing enough, because no's are essential. There are this next step to that yes. So if you're not even getting no's, or if you're not getting anything, there's some work that you have to do. And that's with, career as well. Job searching. Job searching is a whole full-time job in itself, because you are constantly applying, not hearing back, constantly sliding people's DMs, constantly reaching out to recruiters. You are getting no's, and then eventually you'll get that yes. And it takes grit. It takes determination to be able to finally, find a position you're looking for. And I know, baby, you've been going through it. I know you have gone through it. In order to, when you've been job searching, it takes time. It takes energy. And at this point, you are like best friends with no's. And so you have probably been expecting them, and then we get to the answer, you're like, oh shoot, okay, well, let's go ahead and move forward, So a major part of your job is helping people find positions, right? So essentially, you're taking care of them so that they can put food on the table, pay their bills, enjoy life. And so amidst all these layoffs and amidst, the stresses that come with being a recruiter, getting the no's and having to deal with, just a lot, how do you continue to make sure that you're taken care of? Because you're taking care of other people, right? So how do you take care of yourself?
Are you saying like when I'm logging off for the day, how do I take care mentally, how I'm taking care of myself? Like once I mean, for me, I am in the gym probably like 4 or 5 days a week. So like this morning I started my day with a workout. So that's how I take care of me, just to get through the day. Even if I need to step away, I have a Great Dane, so I'll take him for a walk kind of when I need to get away, just take a breather, things like that. And I mean, to be honest, when I have days where I have like 5 interviews in a row, I will log off and I will sit in silence for like an hour. And I will tell people, don't call me because I will watch it ring.
I will not answer. Boundaries. No, boundaries are important. Okay, Miss Ma'am, she can wait. Wait, you gotta take care of yourself. And I love that you said going to the gym, because moving your body, y'all, moving your body is important. And if you could never envision yourself going to a gym, like ever in your existence, at least, I don't know, turn on some music and dance. Okay, Beyonce, Rihanna, Megan Thee Stallion, Gucci, whoever you need to turn on, right? To move your body, get that, get the blood pumping. Because if you don't, you're going to be miserable. And it is very important for y'all to move. And I love that you do that. So you're a gym person. I'm trying. I'm not succeeding. Bless you. How do you even get yourself to constantly go to the gym?
So I tell people this all the time, really just having a community. So I go to a local gym. Actually, a lot of my friends, I referred them to the gym, and now we all work out together. So really just having a community that shows. I used to do the 5 a.m. group class. I don't anymore. I switched back to personal training, but I was up at 5 a.m. 3 days a week. During the winter, we were in there. We were getting it, keeping each other accountable. Hey, girl, you pulling up to the gym this morning? You stood me up? All that.
Ooh, accountability. I heard accountability.
Hey, it's almost summer. It's almost summer. Summer bodies are made right now.
Summer bodies are important. Okay, they're coming up. It's time to get it together, because I don't have time to be at the pool. You know what I'm saying? So, but you take care of yourself, and then you set boundaries. And so, so for you, what challenges have you faced? So, as you're, sourcing other people, or just being in your position as well, whether it's like day to day or whatever it is, what challenges have you faced in that, and how have you continue to move past them, to overcome them?
Of course. So I would say specifically right now, one of the challenges is that a lot of people are hesitant due to the recent layoffs, specifically at Salesforce. If you've been following the news, we had done some layoffs. So I've had a couple people that were in the process get out of the process because they're just like, I don't feel comfortable going through the process right now, which I mean, I understand typically when you're at a company, if they're doing layoffs, usually if you just started, you might be a part of those layoffs. I mean, it's sad to say, especially during the pandemic, so many people went through layoffs. When I was still working at the healthcare company that I was at, the first people to go were those new cohorts. And a lot of layoffs happened then. I mean, and some people were already at home and getting laid off. So it was just a rough time. But when it comes to just overall, I would say at Salesforce, I've really grown into my own. As I said before, the last company I was at, some people really succeeded there. It just wasn't for me. I feel like when I got a new director, she kind of silenced me in a lot of ways, and I wasn't able to fulfill everything that I was doing before that transition happened. And I feel like sometimes I was targeted a little bit, not necessarily targeted, but kind of that angry Black woman thing. Like you know how it goes. If you
Mm-hmm.
kind of have this attitude when you're sending a message, things like that, when the other person was clearly in the wrong, but kind of singling you out that way. So I was kind of feeling that towards the end. That's why I was like, yeah, I need to leave. I feel like I'm not being heard, just kind of getting walked all over. And I was like, it's time for me to go. So
I still don't understand to this day, but here we are. It's when a Black woman, voices her opinion, when she acknowledges that you are in the wrong, it's seen as her being aggressive or doing too much. Or why does she have an attitude, But then when a white woman does it, it's like, oh, she's powerful, she's standing up for herself. Let's listen to her. Like, what is it about us voicing our opinions that now you feel intimidated? I mean, you should feel intimidated because, baby, we are phenomenal. We are amazing. So you have that correct, But it's like, why? What is the point of it, and why do we have to continue struggling? Why do we have to continue suffering and dealing with being walked all over? And that is why people are leaving jobs. That's why they're starting their own businesses. That's why we have this mass movement of Black people leaving the workforce and starting their own businesses, because we're tired. And it's time for us we realize that it's time for us to do our own thing and, pursue our passions and our careers. And for getting out of that, for standing up for yourself, because oftentimes we are not acknowledged that we stand up for ourselves. We are instead ridiculed or told to be quiet.
No in between. So
no in between. And it's like, you know what?
For example, so when I came into the company, I kind of hit the ground running. I worked a lot of hours. I put in the work to get to kind of the top. So compared to the other cohorts, I mean, because we were commission based. So if you placed doctors and they went to work, you were making commission off of that. So in my mind, I'm trying to get as much money as I can if I'm in a commission type of role. So when she kind of took over, she's like, oh, well, it's good. Like, you have all these doctors working, but you're here, you need to be here. And I'm like, I mean, if I'm comfortable where I'm at, I'm still making money, And I'm like, okay, the conversation you're having with me, are you having it with my male white coworker over there? I mean, just things like that. And it was just a lot of situations. And I was like, before I step out of my character, I'm going to just leave. We're closing this chapter and we're leaving. I was really sad to leave a lot of the doctors that I worked with, because I loved working with doctors and kind of finding them roles. Because, I mean, I'm very much a customer service type of person. Before recruiting, I was very much in sales. And I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods for a while, things like that. So, I mean, I've always kind of had that background of like selling. So then essentially in recruiting, you're more so selling people is what I say.
Yeah. So, yeah. You're also selling the company to that person too, because they're like, how do I even know this is worth, my time, my energy? How do I know this position is worth it? So you're selling and you're doing phenomenal at it, because talking about all these people that that you're helping and the challenges that come with it. So tell us about the receipts, because I want to know throughout your career, like how many people so far to secure jobs, and what's the highest position that you've gotten someone?
So I would say last year was kind of my first full year at Salesforce. So kind of after that ramp up period, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I would say in Q3, it was Q3, I had my highest quarter. I had 7 offers and 6 hires. So, I mean, 7 offers were extended, but only 6 people accepted. And within those, one of the women, she was Hispanic. She came into Salesforce in a vice president position. So it was a G10 position. But yes.
And you just sitting there being humble about it. Girl, if you don't say it with your chest.
But I know the recruiter that I worked with, because so I would say in my realm, I'm like the first recruiter that you talk to, and then I pass you off to another recruiter. So here at Salesforce, those recruiters are called ETPs, or Equality Talent Partners. So we kind of partner together to really advocate for those underrepresented minority candidates that I'm talking about. So her and I really had to push back. Like she was pushing back with her manager, and I was just letting my manager know what was going on, because essentially they did want to kind of level her down, but we were like, no, like her background speaks for itself. Like she fulfills all the competencies that we're looking for, and she could really make an impact here. So we really went to bat for her. So getting that was definitely a win.
Like that.
Yes. I would say for me, myself, though, I really like to focus on Black women, because I feel like there's not enough Black women in tech. And I think sometimes, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten on a phone with a candidate and they were like, I was so surprised you reached out to me. I didn't know like there's opportunities at Salesforce, and just really letting them know like there's a space here. And sometimes they do ask kind of about diversity in my title. So I do kind of go into that a little bit. And I really like to highlight here at Salesforce that we have great employee resource groups. So we have like Bold Force, which is our African-American group, Latina Force, and there's also Win Force, which is our indigenous population. And within all these employee resource groups, you can also join as an ally. So that's what I've done with some of them. But I really like to highlight that on those calls, because when I was at the last company I was at, like that was fascinating to me, because we had nothing like that at my last company. And I think for some people, it's really important that they are able to have that group of people that they can go and be themselves. They don't need to code switch like we have to sometimes in corporate America. So,
ooh, you hit something right there. You said code switching. Code switching. We always have to code switch to please the other person. And I love that you are in a place that you don't have to. And you are also reaching other people and telling them you don't have to code switch. You don't have to change up who you are in order to fit in, because you accept you. And that's why it's important for, Black women, Black men, Black people to be in recruiting positions, to be in higher positions, because they make space for us. They give us more opportunities. And in the end, then now you have more diverse talent. Now you have a more diverse community, more diverse company, and you're attracting, right, more customers, more people. And that is why it's important to have a diverse business, because if you're just having a business full, of white people, then it's like you're missing out. You're missing out on the broader spectrum of people who got the dollars, people in tech. But what was crazy though, when we went to Afrotech, and I was like, oh crap, that's a lot of Black people, And I was like, I was on 10 because I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize there were this many of us in tech. And at the same time, I was overwhelmed, because I was like, okay, there's so many people to talk to. I'm going to go hide in the corner and cry. Like the first night I went and took a nap because it was a lot. It was so many people. But just seeing that in real time was really amazing. It was like, whoa, there needs to be more of us. I didn't realize there was already, 10,000 of us, in this space, but there needs to be more. And I love that you are doing that. So did you always want to be a recruiter? You say you came into it accidentally, so I know you were in health, but what did you want to be when you grew up? Because now I'm like, how'd you go from being in healthcare to, being a recruiter? What did you want to be when you grew up?
So I have a degree in international business with a focus in marketing and a minor in German. So essentially, at some point, I'm not saying it's still not going to happen, moving overseas. I mean, working for a company there. I mean, I applied to like some internships in college within like trade compliance, things like that. But I had a pretty general degree, but I always kind of was fascinated by marketing, things like that. But I mean, I feel like as a recruiter, I get some aspects of marketing, because I mean, on LinkedIn, I'm posting daily. I'm kind of being a walking advertisement, essentially, when I was at Afrotech, kind of talking with candidates in person, and just really advocating why Salesforce, why come here, I mean, that's always a question, like, why Salesforce? What made you want to come to Salesforce? I mean, if you talk to most people, they know like our company culture, what we stand for. I think Salesforce we not only talk the talk, but we walk the walk. There's so many companies out there that will say, oh, we're doing this, that in diversity hiring. If you've been paying attention, I've heard that a lot of big tech companies, when they've been doing layoffs, it's specifically been laying off some of those diversity teams that they created during the pandemic, during the Black Lives Matter movement. But do they still have those teams? So that's something to kind of look into, because from what I've heard kind of within the recruiting org, definitely make your checks,
And that didn't even cross my mind, is that the majority of people they laid off those diverse people.
Or like just the teams in general. So like,
we just got an insider. It's crazy.
I can't remember the specific company that I had talked about this with some of my coworkers, but they said like specifically this company laid off like their whole diversity team. So, but I think Salesforce also, we post kind of the numbers, essentially. I don't know if you've seen, like last year we talked about, coming into this year, like 40% increase when it comes to URM hires, LGBTQ community, things like that. So we're pretty vocal about what we're wanting to do, and then we're able to show those numbers. Are other companies doing that?
Hiding it because they know what they're doing. They know they're wrong. Yeah. That Salesforce is a great company. And I completely believe it, because they are diverse. They actually genuinely care about their people. And I've seen posts of like Black women, Black people all together, just dancing and vibing and chilling. And at some point I was like, you know what? I could work for Salesforce. Yeah.
Have you?
I don't think the cloud is for me. I don't think the cloud is for me.
It's too much.
If y'all end up having some fashion positions, then come talk to us, sister. I got you. But
I don't know about that.
I realized real quick.
The fashion side within Salesforce.
Look,
I don't know how that would.
On the way, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, if you need somebody, you know where to find me. Business degree, right? You went into healthcare, and then you are here now with Salesforce, and eventually you want to move abroad. So what do you want to do moving abroad? Do you want to have your own business? Do you what are we doing? Because this is phenomenal.
I mean, Salesforce does have tons of hubs abroad. I mean, there's a hub in Paris, France that has a great view of the Eiffel Tower, I've heard. They just opened up a new hub in Dublin, Ireland, which loved Ireland. I've actually been there before. I mean, they have one in Germany. I mean, we have recruiting teams on that side. I would definitely need to brush up on my German if that does happen. But when I was going through the interview process, that's something I was vocal about, like just talking about Salesforce in general, but the opportunities that are available. Like, say I do want to make a switch maybe in a year or two to go overseas. Like, what does that look like? So, I mean, I was very candid when I was going through the interview process, still wanting to stay within Salesforce, or if I had to make a move within one of our other companies, Slack, MuleSoft, Tableau. I mean, there's tons of opportunities there as well.
Really cool to know that Salesforce has, different hubs overseas. That's really cool. And there's options, and people love working remotely. Like, there's a whole movement now of people loving to work remote. I mean, there's flexibility. There's, opportunities to enjoy life more than, commuting for 2 hours a day. Gas prices, in what is it called? Inflation, all that, So I think that's really cool. But hey, I mean, if you start a little side hustle, got a little something, you better let people know.
I do already have a couple side hustles, but
tell us the side hustles.
Just put me on the spot. So I like working with kids, so I do babysit on the side, and I also do like some home health care. So one of my clients, she is special needs, so I pretty much meet with her weekly, take her to different events, things like that.
So you living by the truth when you said have some side hustles.
Yes, I do.
I love that. Practice what you preach, y'all. What actionable piece of advice would you give for those who they have been laid off? They are struggling. They're, dealing with trying to find a new job. Bounce back. What advice would you give to them?
So I would definitely say utilize your network. If you've been following on LinkedIn, there's been tons of hashtags created. I know if I see a post that really resonates with me, I'll repost, I'll support it. And just not losing faith. I mean, maybe versus just applying online, maybe you see a job fair, go network in person. You never know who you'll run into. Maybe you don't get a job offer, but maybe they can refer you to someone else that might be able to do that. Just really opening doors for yourself. And then I would definitely say when you apply, I tell people this all the time, especially people. So when I was at Afrotech, for example, I can't tell you how many people walked up to me and they're like, I've applied for Salesforce so many times, but I never hear anything back. And my first response was always, well, did you reach out to a recruiter? Like, Salesforce is a large company. I guarantee you, if you apply to a role, for example, our BDR roles are pretty popular, like entry-level sales roles. If you apply to a BDR role, you're probably one of like 1,000. So the chances of, like a recruiter can still reach out to you, but if you don't do something that sets you apart from just another name on a resume, things like that, or really knowing the hack when it comes to applying for jobs and kind of how to pull certain things from your resume, I mean, you're not going to get a call back. I love when people reach out to me on LinkedIn and they reach out to me about, I do post specific roles on my LinkedIn. So they might reach out about that specific role, or they're like, hey, I applied to this role. I'd love to chat with you. I think some people, they confuse me for being like an agency recruiter where they're just going to reach out to me and I just find them a job. That's not going to happen. I probably get 50 plus messages a day. To be candid, I can't respond to everyone, but I mean, if you send me a message, have your resume, have the job, like, please read the job description, because I have people reach out to me about jobs that require 10 plus years of experience and you have 4. Please make it make sense, because I can do a lot, but like, I can't work a miracle. I need you to do a little bit more than that for me, because lately I've literally been like, I'm an honest person, especially when it comes to URM talent. That's why I have in my description diversity in various places. So if anyone I'm going to respond to, it's definitely going to be the diverse talent. And sometimes I'm very candid with them, like, hey, like, I appreciate you reaching out to me, but you don't have the minimum experience required for this role. I would definitely recommend you kind of taking a look back at some of our other roles that might be available to you, and then looking at different networking. I mean, Salesforce has VetForce for our veterans. So maybe you're trying to break into tech, look into VetForce, or your FutureForce, follow FutureForce, see what events they're going to be at. Reach out to those recruiters specifically for FutureForce. If I have time, I do try to drop the LinkedIn to the correct recruiter, but sometimes it just depends. But yeah, always reach out to a recruiter. I would definitely say that.
Ooh, okay. So when reaching out to a recruiter, I love this. She said, I can't work a miracle, so help me out. So help a sister out. Okay. Y'all can't be out here with no experience trying to get her reaching out to recruiters. This is y'all final piece of advice. So take it, run with it, take notes, and do it. What's up? So 3 insider tips that you want to leave with listeners so that they can effectively reach out to recruiters and build those relationships to help them find positions and ultimately help you, because you making a little money off of it. So how can they?
I would definitely say, if you know someone that works at Salesforce, definitely have like a relationship with someone. Definitely ask them to refer you. We do hire on a lot of referrals. I was a referral myself when I came onto Salesforce here. Even when I'm going through the interview process with a candidate, I ask them if they've been referred, because when someone refers you, then they kind of fill out just a couple questions about you and really kind of vouch for you. So when you're going through the application, they'll also see that feedback from the person who works at Salesforce. And then when you reach out to recruiters, please say a specific role. You telling me your experience, I'm not going to go search for a job for you. Unless we had a conversation, unless I reached out to you, we had a conversation, maybe I had a role in mind and it turns out that your experience doesn't align, I'll do a little bit more research after I talk to you. But if we haven't had that conversation, I don't know what you're looking for. I might take a look at your LinkedIn, but if you're trying to break into tech, just be very aware you're going to have to start from the bottom and work your way up, unless some of those experiences that you have and can kind of align to our competencies here at Salesforce. I have a lot of people who reach out to me for like very tech heavy roles, and look into coding. If you're trying to break into tech, there's actually someone I know, he's a trainer, a fitness trainer. I've been helping him along the process. He's also a veteran. I told him, join Vet Force. I gave him the information for a military recruiter. I told him he better go to Afrotech this year. I also told him to kind of get PMP certified, because when he was in the military, he was doing kind of project manager, kind of working closely with people and managing people. So I told him, look into PMP certified, start going through some of those Salesforce certifications. At Salesforce, it's not required to have those certifications. It does depend on the role. But for some of the roles, you don't have to have those certifications, but it does help you if you do have those certifications, or at least starting the process, because I mean, people are like, okay, you took the initiative. If you've already started, like we know when we hire you at Salesforce, you're going to only continue to get those certifications, things like that.
Oh, good too. I have made the mistake, not gonna lie, I'm gonna put myself on the spot. I have made the mistake when I have been reaching out to recruiters and trying to connect with them. I wasn't specific with the role, right? And then it's just kind of like they, don't respond, or they're like, I can't help you because you're not helping me, right? So that is really important. Y'all do not take this as a grain of salt, okay? You have the insider, you have a recruiter. So, my love, tell them where they can find you. And please, y'all, don't be sliding her DMs and doing too much, because now you're going to make me look bad. So I need y'all to slide her DMs correct. So, my love, where can we find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn under Rochelle Rawls. I mean, it's like diversity threw up on my page, kind of. That's all I really talk about. I do have the hiring. I'll always have the roles that I'm currently hiring for attached to my profiles. I try to keep that up to date as much as possible, and just keeping you in the known on what's going on. Yeah. Okay. And also, when you reach out to a recruiter, please double check your message, because I have had a lot of people recently reach out to me, I think sending mass messages and not say my name correctly. So I'm like, or like I had one guy call me Mrs. Smith, and I was like, I think you forgot to double check your message. Recipient. We do need an unsend button from LinkedIn, though. We need an unsend button. I will say that.
That's important. That's important. Social media is slowly catching up on that. You can do it on iMessage now, so I'm going to need LinkedIn to help us out, because some of us be out here embarrassing ourselves, and when we send that message, it's too late. And, now your life is over because you can't get a job. But, but that is really good, y'all. Take her advice. Thank you. Okay. But Miss Rochelle, it was so great having you on. Thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast.
Of course. It was great talking with you and getting to know you a little bit better in your podcast. So hopefully I helped someone today. So
it helped tremendously. And you're going to continue to do great things. I got my eye on you. So y'all share with your friends, people who need jobs, because tech layoffs are real and we need community. So y'all be great. Y'all do good. And I will catch y'all in the next episode.